Well, Australia is set to have another player picked in the top 10 of the NBA draft. For more on this teenage star, we're joined by a legend of the game on these shores in Andrew Gaze. Gazy, great to have you back with us here on Fox Sports News. Dyson Daniels, this 19-year-old from Bendigo, but seemingly with the world at his feet. Just how good are we talking and how high do you think he'll go?
Yeah, well, it's speculated similar to what we saw with Josh Giddey last season, anywhere between 6 and I think the highest you can expect him to fall is around about 12. So he's going to be a lottery pick. And, it's another example of what we've been able to produce here in Australia. This kid grew up in Bendigo, as you mentioned, comes from a basketball family, but it was one that showed excellence at a very, very early age. I got to see him grow up through the juniors, and from about the age of 15, he was playing senior basketball. So he's got a really bright future. I ran into him a couple of months ago, and I hadn't seen him for 12 to 18 months, and he certainly looked like he's grown as well. So elite athlete, and one that I think that if you look at his perimeter shooting, that's probably the area where you'd expect him to improve the most. But having said that, there's this last season with the Ignite program over in the States. He's been over there for 12 or so months. He's really improved in that area.
Yeah, and he's backed himself too. He skipped college, went straight to the G League. Tell us about how he's gone this season and just what's impressing everyone.
Yeah, it's an interesting league because it's a league where everyone is on the cusp. He was in a program that's been designed by the NBA. It's called the NBA Ignite, I think is the name of the program that they play against other G League teams. And it's a real selfish league. It's one where everyone's out there to impress, and it can be a challenge. But he showed in that league that he's I've got great maturity, good ball handling skills. As you see with some of these highlights, he's an elite athlete, and that right there is the area that he's improved on the most with his shot. I think he averaged around 11 points a game, but had some big games, particularly towards the latter stages of the season. And he was in a team that had other guys around his age all trying to do the same as what he's doing. So it was a competitive situation for him, and he stood up, and he stood up well certainly well enough to be a lottery pick in the NBA.
What's your thoughts, mate? Who would he best suit? Who do you think's going to pick him, and will it suit his game?
Yeah, and we know that that's important. We saw last season when Josh Giddey got picked up by OKC, you think, well, that's going to be tough. They're a rebuilding team. But what it did do, it provided him with incredible opportunity. And he showed that you get some time, it helps in your development and really quickens things up as you're learning in particular. So I think that for a young guy who's only 19 years of age, still got a lot to learn, going to a team that is in that development stage can be helpful. No one likes to lose, but when you're thinking of the long-term prospects individually, to be somewhere where you can make some mistakes and play through some of those rookie errors is going to be a healthy thing for him. The last, I haven't seen the predictions over, today, but the last time I looked, there was some real strong speculation that I think Indiana at number 6. Now, I didn't expect him to go that high, but Indiana at number 6 would be the best case scenario. And if that was the case, I think that would be great because it's a team that's not terrible, but certainly is going through that development phase.
Can you just take us through what it must be like? Because it must be a huge moment for any young player. But for this young man, he's been working out at a few different franchises. We understand then the franchise owners like to sort of wine and dine, get to know them, maybe even woo them as well. Can you just give us an idea what this week, or last couple of weeks, must have been like, and then in particular tomorrow morning when it's on?
Oh, well, it would have been mayhem, going around visiting all the teams and actually being selective on who you want to go and work out for. So he and his agent would have gone through a pretty detailed process on what was going to give him the best pathway to get to the highest possible draft selection. So it would have been a lot of travel, a lot of workouts, and I think it would have been exciting because this is something, although he's 19, the last 2 or 3 years, it's all been gearing up for this moment. And, he's a really smart kid, really level-headed, and I think that for him, for this to finally be over and get to that next phase where you know where you're going, you know who the coach is, you know what the system is, and you can take that next step. I think that will be a relief come tomorrow when he gets drafted.
Yeah, and a minimum, 3.4 million plus Australian as your salary. Not bad for a 19-year-old in these tough times, Gazy. And even more importantly, and I'm sure it warms your heart as well, he's absolutely dead keen to represent Australia.
Yeah, for sure. And he's done that in the past. He went to the institute here as well. So he has a long history, and I think that he has an understanding that this opportunity that he's getting has not been without the assistance of Basketball Australia and the Basketball Victoria and basketball in general in this country, the way in which it can provide the environment for kids to develop and have these opportunities, I think is something that the sport should be extremely proud of. And so I think he's another one when you think of him and Josh Giddey, who knows, maybe one day Ben Simmons, Jock Landale. We've got that next generation coming through. And that's not to say guys like Paddy Mills and Joe Ingles that they're done. They still seem very highly motivated to continue with the Australian team. So the future looks extremely bright.